Join us on the program right now. David Thompson is with us, attorney with Cooper and Clark. And Mr. Thompson, thank you, sir, for coming on the program this evening.
Good evening, Cam. It's good to be with you.
It's good to talk to you once again. And another lawsuit filed on behalf of the National Rifle Association challenging the constitutionality of the federal handgun ban for a law-abiding 18 to 21-year-olds. Right now, under the current law, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who may be fine, upstanding citizens, maybe the lawful owners of rifles and shotguns, they cannot legally purchase a handgun through a federally licensed firearms dealer.
Yes, Cam, you're absolutely right, and we've challenged that as a severe infringement on the Second Amendment rights of these young adults who serve with distinction in our nation's military and in law enforcement. And it's really an unbelievable law. I mean, everyone would agree that Congress can't pass a law saying 18, 19, and 20-year-olds couldn't buy books from booksellers, and yet here Congress has said that these young adults can't buy guns from gun sellers, and they're forced into the extremely limited, unlicensed market, and it's a severe infringement on their rights, and we're confident that the courts are going to strike this down.
Well, and that's what's so interesting, David, is that there's no prohibition on ownership, but as you say, it's simply that individuals who are in this age group are prevented from entering into the largest legal market for handguns.
Yeah, we believe the government's going to have a very difficult time articulating an important government rationale as to why this law would be valid. And under the Supreme Court test, for now that we know that the Second Amendment is a fundamental right, the Congress would have to have a compelling interest. And in fact, there's no interest. It makes no sense to force these adults into the unlicensed, limited market. And they can only buy intrastate, not interstate. So it's really a severe infringement. There is, Cam, a second part to the litigation that we've launched today as part of the NRA's national strategy to ensure the recognition of Second Amendment rights, and that's we're also challenging Texas's ban on concealed carry by 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. Texas allows these adults to carry their long guns and to carry their handguns in their car. But the minute they step out of their car, they're stripped of their right of self-defense. And, our client, his parents go to a Walmart that's not in a great part of town in Lubbock, and when they go there, they like to conceal carry so that they can protect themselves. He just wants that same common sense and constitutionally protected right of self-defense. Texas denies him to it, and we think there's a very important principle at stake here because Heller, at least narrowly construed, was about the right to keep your arms, to defend yourself and your hearth and home, in the words of Justice Scalia. This suit, we believe, will establish the proposition that you're also allowed to carry your firearm, that obviously it wouldn't be much of a right if you couldn't carry it, and that the Constitution means what it says when it says you have the right to keep and bear arms, and so that's another part of this lawsuit.
And you talk about the lack of a compelling interest by the government in blocking these individuals. I got to tell you, the plaintiff in this case, James DeCruz, he has a very compelling story, David.
He certainly does. He learned respect for firearms from his grandfather, who's a World War II veteran who taught him gun safety and respect for firearms and the importance of the Second Amendment. And more recently, throughout high school, he was a member of the the Navy JROTC. He won a marksmanship competition, a regional competition, is highly decorated for his marksmanship. And, he wants to have the ability to buy a handgun, to buy ammunition for his handgun, and the ability to protect himself and exercise his right to self-defense when he's outside his home or his car.
So the case, again, just filed yesterday. Obviously, the government has, 30 days to make their initial response?
Yeah, that's right. They do, and this case is pending in Lubbock, Texas, where Mr. DeCruz lives, and the judge that the case was assigned to is Judge Cummings. He was the district court judge in the Emerson case, which you may recall back about a dozen years ago was the case that really started it all. It was the first robust articulation of the individual right to keep and bear arms by a court, a federal court, and it really snowballed into and led to and paved the way for Justice Scalia's very fine opinion in Heller.
And David, the case will ultimately, I guess, if this gets appealed, will ultimately end up before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Do they have a history in terms of Second Amendment rulings?
They do. Judge Cummings' ruling in Emerson went to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and they affirmed it. And again, a very lengthy, very scholarly, thorough defense of the Second Amendment, of the individual right to keep and bear arms. And again, that decision was really a predecessor for the Supreme Court in Heller. So we think that the precedent in that Emerson case cuts dramatically and strongly in our favor.
All right. Well, listen, David, again, I really appreciate you coming on the program tonight and talking about this new case. I know we'll be talking about it further in the months to come. And any updates, by the way, on some of the other litigation that the NRA is pursuing?
Well, we're pursuing the case out in Chicago, and we saw that Mayor Daley has stepped down as mayor, so he is a defendant in that lawsuit. We may need to substitute Rahm Emanuel or whoever the new mayor of Chicago is when that transfer of power occurs. But we're moving aggressively with discovery in that case, and we are confident that Chicago law will be struck down as an act of defiance aimed at the United States Supreme Court.
All right. David, thank you again, sir, and look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thanks, Cam, so much. Have a good evening.
You too. David Thompson, attorney with Cooper and Kirk, joining us, talking about the NRA's latest lawsuit.